In Nigeria, a country of over 200 million people, fame follows faces.
Now 200 million.
A superstar can barely walk the streets without being recognized. Yet, one man has defied that rule for more than 3 decades. I'm talking about a man whose songs have become staples at weddings, protest grounds, and even nightclubs. But his true identity remains one of Nigeria's greatest mysteries. I spent weeks digging into this mystery, tracking down old interviews, studying rare performances, and combing through stories people tell about him. And the deeper I went, the more I realized this man is more than the average musician. This is the story of a man who rewrote the rules of fame and turned anonymity into power. A multi-instrumentalist who plays over 5 instruments. A poet whose lyrics transverse the space between love and heartbreak, politics and protest. A musician who bends genres at his will. A live performer whose appearances raises more questions than brings answers. But the deeper I went into his story, the more I asked, why is this man wearing a mask? Was it a gimmick to stand out? Or was he trying to make a more profound statement about identity? Well, I have my findings and I'll present them to you in this video. Along the way, I will share some surprising details I found out. Details that will forever change the way you think about Lagbaja. I still remember the first time I saw him on TV and heard his song, Konko below. What caught my attention wasn't the music, it was the mask. This was 2002, and none of the musicians I knew covered their faces. So I wondered, why was this man hiding behind an Ankara mask? All my favorite artists at the time, Two-Face, Wed MC, Fela, had faces I could recognize on billboards and album covers. But with Lagbaja, there was only the mask and nothing more. And not just one mask, he had a variety in different colors and styles. But beyond the mask and the mildly outrageous outfits, there was the music. While Konko Below was the first song of his I ever heard, it did not immediately stick with me. The moment I truly began to pay attention was when I heard Gra Gra. It was unlike anything I'd ever encountered before. A fusion of Fuji and jazz, laced with the vibrant sounds of the ducking drum and the saxophone. 2 of my favorite musical instruments. I won't pretend that I understood the meaning of the song. I jammed to it for weeks on the radio, just a little boy in primary 4, soaking myself in every beat. I was a casual fan until I listened to Nothing For You. Once again, it was the horn arrangement that hooked me. And that's probably my favorite thing about Lagbaja. In my opinion, this man can do no wrong with the saxophone. The melodies are simply beautiful. Then you add the talking drums to the song, and the result is a fusion that feels very otherworldly. The funny thing is this, I have an unusual history with this song. I remember singing the lines, Lagbaja, Nothing For You, and feeling a smack at the back of my head, and it was my mother. She wanted to know why I was singing those lyrics. In her words, there will always be something for you. By the time I discovered Lagbaja in early 2003, I wholeheartedly believed I was witnessing the rise of a legend. Turns out, Lagbaja's music is actually older than me. He emerged in the Nigerian music scene in the early 1990s and released his debut album in 1993. The crazy thing is that I'm just finding this out. I was of the mindset that Lagbaja debuted in the early 2000s, so you see why music history is important. Lagbaja came in with a spice that helped him stand out very quickly. It was his groundbreaking fusion of Afrobeat, jazz and Yoruba Fuji music. The thing with Lagbaja is that there are no genres. But what I loved the most about Lagbaja was how he positioned himself as not just a musician. He stood as a cultural commentator, using both his music and his enigmatic persona to critique the Nigerian government and its people as well. Nobody was safe with Lagbaja. Everybody could collect, both the government and the people. If there was something to be said, Lagbaja would find a way to say it. And he would do it with a groove you couldn't help but dance to. So infectious was his music that I believe it drowned his message sometimes. If you danced too hard, the message would fly over your head. His song, Surilere, and its music video is an attack on the incompetent Nigerian government of the late 1990s. The lyric suggests that although the government has asked the people to be patient and assured them that change will come, there is a limit to how much patience the people can exercise, and one day they will be fed up. He released that song in the year 2000. 25 years later, we are still being patient with the government. What a shame. I can only imagine how disappointed he must be, but let's pretend all is well like we always do. Anyway, back to the music. Regarding inspiration, you don't need a music professor to tell you that Lagbaja was heavily inspired by Fela. It's evident in his style of music, the unconventional song structures, his obsession with the saxophone, and the similarity of their messages. But Lagbaja took that inspiration and carved out a lane for himself with his complex, sultry fusion of jazz and Yoruba Fuji. The result is something he referred to as Afrocentric or Africano, terms which he coined by himself. As a child, I always wondered, why the mask? And who is Lagbaja without the mask? It did not click for me until I became an adult. The word Lagbaja is a placeholder name that translates into anybody, somebody, or even nobody. In this case, Lagbaja is an anonymous figure singing these songs, a faceless man representing the common person. He is no one and everyone. He is one of us, speaking for all of us, and all of us speaking for one of us. We are him, he is us, and we are all Lagbaja. That explains the marks. By wearing it, Lagbaja forces the listener to focus on the music rather than his personality or face. His fashion draws inspiration from Yoruba masquerade traditions, where masks are always worn by spiritual figures to conceal their identities and deliver messages without personal biases. In this way, the individual behind the masks becomes far less important than the message they carry, giving Lagbaja the freedom to confront a wide range of themes in his music. And here is another similarity between Lagbaja and Fela. Fela created a new persona which he called Abamieda, meaning the strange one or a strange person. This was his way of embracing how society saw him, an outsider that many didn't understand but could not resist. This may have inspired Lagbaja's own stage name. Fela used his crafted persona to challenge false consciousness, while Lagbaja used anonymity to highlight collective identity. That same unconventionality extends to his vocal delivery. There is something about Lagbaja's vocals that scratches my brain in just the right way. He rarely uses his natural voice in his songs, opting instead for stylized tones that add to his mystique.
In fact, thinking about it now, I don't think I know what Lagbaja's voice sounds like.
Instead, he employs a wide range of vocal manipulations, digital distortion, and theatrical effect. Other times, he sounds like he's mimicking multiple characters in his songs, as if he's having a conversation with many different versions of himself. This takes us back to the subject matter of his name. As Lagbaja, he provides a space for us, as a collective, to become one and communicate our grievances through him. Lagbaja is also known for his ad-libs, his injections and exclamations, which he uses to animate his tracks. You hear him throw in playful sounds, rhythmic bursts, and spontaneous phrases throughout his songs. And you can't talk about Lagbaja's vocal delivery without mentioning Nwake Ego Ihanacho, one of his most frequent collaborators, who performs under the stage name Ego.
Before I go further, I want to preface this section of the video by saying that Ego is arguably the greatest Nigerian vocalist of the century so far. If you doubt me, go and listen to Never Far Away. What she did on that song will never ever cease to amaze me. I was listening to the song this morning and I still had goosebumps. This might be a controversial take, but I feel like that song is the greatest male-female collaboration from Nigeria ever. Wait, I'm not even done. The music video is also probably the most iconic Nigerian music video from the 2000s. It's so good that it won the Channel O Music Video Award for Best Male Video. In my opinion, the only music videos that can stand this one in competition are African Queen by Two-Face, Fire on the Mountain by Asha, and Ijoya by Wed MC. Anyway, back to Nwake Ego, who most of us know as Ego at this point.
Because of the chemistry they displayed on some of their most iconic collaborations, I actually thought Lagbaja and Ego were married. Don't mind me. I was just a 10-year-old trying to figure life out. In reality, Ego was introduced to Lagbaja through another music legend, Sonny Neji. At the time, Sonny Neji and Lagbaja were part of a music band called Colors, and they needed a female lead vocalist. She was formally invited to join the group after an impressive performance at a major event in 1994. Initially, she was meant to serve as a temporary replacement for the main vocalist, but she sounded so good that she became a permanent fixture. And as they say, the rest is history. By the time Lagbaja began churning out solo projects, Ego had become his most frequent collaborator. Together, they produced some of the most iconic Nigerian songs of the 2000s, including Skentele Skontolo, Nothing For You, and Konko Below.
The one that completely blew my mind away was Never Far Away. I consider Ego's vocals on that song to be one of the most underrated vocal deliveries on any song ever, Nigerian or not. Argue with your CD collection. It's so good that it almost inspired me to pursue a career in music, until my mom slapped that dream out of my head the day I told her I wanted to become a musician. But that's a story for another day.
Anyway, at this point, I could write a 10-page dissertation on why Never Far Away is arguably the greatest song by a Nigerian artist ever. And I'm so happy that Ego herself knows this. Look, there were only two other female vocalists from that era delivering vocals on the same insane level, Omawumi and Waje. In fact, at the time, there was a drought of female vocalists in the Nigerian music industry. It's safe to say Ego carried the industry on her back during that period. For me, what makes Never Far Away special is its blend of jazz and fuji. You hear everything in the song, from the talking drums to the batter drums to violins to the cello, and what sounds like a full orchestra in the background.
Then there is the arrangement. I am not lying when I say this is probably the most well put together song by a Nigerian artist, male or female, and it's all live instrumentation. With this song, you have no idea what's coming next. Just eargasm upon eargasm until you reach the final line. The result is 6 minutes of pure bliss. Honestly, I don't think Lagbaja and his band fully grasp the complexity of their achievements.
An arrangement so good, it was covered by the Calgary Jazz Orchestra in 2024, 18 years after its release. And it makes sense because Ego herself confirmed that the track was actually written before she joined the band in 1994. The band kept tweaking and redefining the song until it was finally released in 2005, and it blew up instantly. That's nearly 10 years of incubation to give birth to a classic. This kind of dedication to one song reminds me of Leonard Cohen's battle with his timeless hit, Hallelujah. Between 1979 and 1984, Cohen rewrote that song 150 times before arriving at the version the world knows today.
Believe it when they say good things take time, because they actually do. See, I could give a 10-minute tech talk on the brilliance of this track alone, but at this point, I know you're tired of hearing about this song, and I get it. But before I go on, I just want Mr. Bisade Ologunde to come to the front of the class and explain to us Why there is no clean music video of this song on YouTube? Last month, I made a video about how poorly we preserve our art and culture in Nigeria. This is an example of what I'm talking about. The craziest part is that I couldn't even find a YouTube channel for Lagbaja's music, just bits and pieces scattered around the internet. I couldn't even find his full albums on Spotify, and I cannot even begin to explain how sad that makes me feel.
One thing I noticed in Lagbaja's career are two recurring themes: songs about social justice and corruption, and songs about love. In 2009, he released another career highlight, Did I? It is similar to Never Far Away, but not as complex musically, but it has its uniqueness. And then we get one of my favorite songs in Lagbaja's discography, a song dedicated to every Nigerian anywhere. 200 Million Mumu is a song about the ignorant complacence of the average Nigerian man. In this song, Lagbaja blames the people for allowing their leaders to get away with anything.
And he's saying nothing but the truth. Even the political class knows this.
You see, I can't end this video without talking about Lagbaja's impact on the new generation of Nigerian musicians.
Recently, I was watching the music video to Adugo by the Cavemen, and I kept wondering, this reminds me of someone from my childhood, and I couldn't remember who. And then it hit me. Lagbaja. These are artists who make music rooted in Nigerian culture and tradition.
Now, I am not saying that the Cavemen were inspired by Lagbaja, no. But for some reason, they remind me of the raw honesty of Lagbaja's music, his blending of traditional and modern elements to produce something new and authentic. Artists like Burna Boy and Adekunle Gold inherit his legacy of fusing African heritage with global aesthetics while maintaining lyrical depth. In the history of stage performance and presence in Nigeria, there is a lineage of goats. Fela passed his essence to Lagbaja, who opened doors for Burna Boy, who shattered barriers for Rema. They were gatherings for cultural rituals and movements of resistance. Lagbaja took that source and added humor and satire, reinterpreting that essence for his own generation. Till date, he is still as relevant as ever as a live performer as he was in the 1990s. Burna Boy then came into the picture and took the works of the pioneers to a larger stage, positioning Nigerian performance culture in the global mainstream so that artists like Rema could sell out arenas in Europe and get paid millions to perform in faraway India. Lagbaja's career represents a masterclass in how music can be both art and activism, tradition and innovation, individual and collective. Through his fusion of genres, vocal play, and fearless vocal commentary, Lagbaja not only redefined Nigerian music, but also broadened the scope of what it means to be an African artist in a globalized world.